First of all, a warm welcome to everyone today. And thank you to Hema and her second innings team for giving me this opportunity to share whatever bit I have learned about standing out in the market. So to start out with, would love to understand a little bit more about what everybody believes what a personal brand is. We have heard or seen influencers on LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, building a narrative about themselves. And to some extent, that is true, that a brand is something what other people identify us with. It is something that when you are not in the room and people were to speak about you, those are the terms that they would use for you. This is very important to have a very authentic and a personal brand because it is a very competitive space out there. And to stand out, and I give you an example, as a leader and as having managed the teams, every single job posting that we put out typically has or receives at least 500 to 1,000 applicants across the board, whether it's senior or junior or starting out. So in this competitive market, how do you stand out? That's a question that we all have. And most importantly, it is not only about just for work, but it is something that it is immensely satisfying to be able to find our own identity and communicate this identity consistently so that our values are what we think that we are portraying is also something that others are also seeing. So the key elements of a personal brand, first and foremost, is authenticity. Authenticity for me is very, very important because a brand cannot be built on something that you don't believe in. I'm also good at it. I have a history of building products globally. World also needs it. I can get paid for it. And that is a fundamental reason why at least I have chosen that as my ikigai or my core specialty as I look to devote where I would look to devote my energies to. So first and foremost, it's important to be authentic. We cannot consistently portray an image of ourselves with certain enthusiasm if we don't identify with it. So authenticity is extremely important. It is not enough just to constantly look out for the latest and the greatest trends and seeing how we can latch on to that, but it is something that we have to deeply resonate with. Secondly, credibility. And this is also ties back to authenticity because credibility implies that there are sufficient proof points about the values, the skills that we are looking to portray within our history and within what we have been able to demonstrate. Third is consistency. Consistency essentially reinforces whatever we have said by consistently showing those behaviors. And each one of these have certain factors and certain, I would say, strategies that go into it. Authenticity. So for authenticity, this is a lovely diagram. This is derived from the Japanese concept of ikigai. The actual Japanese concept was slightly different, but this essentially is a very good framework for us to understand what should we pursue as a passion for work. And this is in the context of work. So if you look at it, it has 4 key aspects to it. First and foremost is what you love. This is something that you should be, very much interested in doing. Second is what you're good at. What we love may not be what we are good at. A good example is I love music. I am learning guitar, but I'm not good at it. I'm not good at it in any shape or form to go and give a live performance for it. Third is what does the world need? Now, there may be something both that we love and we are good at, but does the world really need it? Is there an absolute need in the world to provide that as a skill or a service? And lastly is what you can get paid for. There should also be some interest to essentially for people to essentially pay for that kind of skill or a service. And a very good example, just from my own experience, is that I love mentoring people. I know the world also needs it, but I don't believe I can. It will the remuneration will be substantial enough for me to make a living out of it, right? And it possibly could change in future. On the other hand, I love building products. I love solving business problems using technology. And so again, a couple of ways in which you can find your passions and your skills is through introspection. This is something I suggest, folks can take some time. You can brainstorm with your better half or with your friends who know you very well to understand again, what your passions are, what your skills are, what motivates you. It requires a little bit of introspection around where you found you were most energetic, what really is exciting to you, what is the work that you don't really like doing, and essentially see if and what are your values? Your values can be collaborative, your values can be innovative, your values can be supportive, whatever your values are, definitely write those down and also seek help externally. This could be your friends, your last boss. There's always enough proof points around feedback and reviews, and look at what people are saying as areas that you're really good at and the areas that potentially you could improve. And the goal over here is to really understand what your passion is, based on both what you intrinsically see and feel and what externally others are seeing in you. So lastly is market demand. Market demand is a bit hard to measure, especially if you are going into, let's say, a non-traditional route. If it is typically getting back into work, a good way to measure is where are the job openings that are available, and for example, what are some of the trending topics that people are speaking about? What are the skills? And you can also seek help from recruiters. You can seek help from your friends and family who are in different companies, to understand what are the skills their teams, their organizations are really looking for, and where do they see a substantial gap. And if this resonates with your passion, definitely go for it. There are other non-traditional methods. There are other non-traditional options as well for careers. Career is not just a 9-to-5 job. I know many of my friends who do consulting. A lot of my friends do teaching. They do YouTubing. They provide services. So that there are different options out there. And the beauty about it is, at least right now, that because the world is so interconnected, you don't have to think about only what is there within your vicinity. Your world is truly an oyster to explore. What are the options? What are the opportunities everywhere? So again, these are some of the specific steps that you can take to identify what are the top skills and what are the top values that you are passionate about. The goal is, once you find these core skills and values, this is reflected in what you communicate out, both digitally in your resume as well as in person, so that it reinforces the perception, or reinforces the proof points, what you are claiming to be. So this is for folks who are currently employed and are looking to create a brand for themselves within a company. A great way to create a brand is, or to step up, is to find a mentor. And again, this mentor will be typically someone who resonates with your values, who professes some skills that you're looking to develop or you believe you're good at, so that you can hone your skills further. So especially if you're in a larger company, definitely go out and seek out mentors. For those who are returning to work, you can still seek out mentors through a number of platforms. A great example is Her Second Innings. There are many other platforms like Her Key, Aspire for Her, who provide mentorship opportunities for women who are looking to return to work. It is important for us to be seen and known, and a lot of times it cannot just come from work. Hence, it is take every opportunity that you can get to showcase your work. Of course, don't be, the goal is not to be so in the face or obnoxious, but profess and share whatever expertise that you have. And we need not be the experts in everything. We can be experts in one field and one area, and we can share that expertise through tech talks or brown bag lunches or presentations that typically some of the larger companies have. If your company doesn't have, offer to start so that you can learn from others, others can learn from you. You also have some credible proof points. You are able to increase your reach across the organization, and you can become the known person in a specific area. Become a mentor. If you are mid-career, to really hone in the skills that you're looking to become an proficient at, you can become a mentor. You can mentor people who are starting out and people who are 2-3 years behind you in your journey. And this will really help you both. It will be extremely satisfying, but it will also help you get to very specific skills. And again, for me, this is an excellent talk. That's consciously or subconsciously, I've also always wanting to build a brand in a unique image of myself, and being able to come out and teach really helped me understand the areas that I'm not investing in. So something that for me to work on. So by teaching is when we also deepen our own learning. Another excellent opportunity is through company blogs or papers. Even if it's a big or a small, typically your company will have a website. It will also have a blog. And on those blogs, in that blog section, you can share an area of expertise of yours and add in some your own unique perspectives from the angle of the company. And typically companies are more than happy to publish this because it also improves employee engagement, attracts the right kind of talent when they see the kind of activities, not just from a marketing perspective, but from an employee perspective. And to cap all of this, it's also extremely important to be good at our work. If we have a role and the goal would be is to always do the very best for that role and continue to grow before we take on additional responsibilities. Because a lot of times the work will speak for ourselves. So digital, right now we are in a very digital era, which means that multiple times the inbound requests will actually come from recruiters noticing your profiles or any other collaboration opportunities externally, noticing your profiles in digital and social media. It's very important to manage the overall reputation in social media as well as in the digital space. And I say this broadly because there are many different avenues. A good example is LinkedIn. This is an excellent platform for professional professionals for sharing their areas of expertise. First and foremost is to maintain a very complete profile. Typically, LinkedIn is very good at guiding all the different elements in a profile that needs to be filled. So definitely fill all of those mandatory areas in your profile, because based on that is you will show up in the different searches as recruiters search for potential candidates. It also signals what you're passionate about. And this should tie back to the values that you've identified and the skills that you've identified most with, because it is a very limited space. So this is where doing that introspection and ensuring that knowing what drives you is very, very important. They do take on certifications. I urge everyone to invest in themselves, which means that do certifications, invest from a money or as well as from a time perspective. There are free certifications out there. There are Udemy courses. LinkedIn itself provides many courses that you can take to upgrade your skills in a specific area. If there are any awards, both internal and external, that you have received, definitely mention those. It could be the Employee of the Month, it could be Rising Star, whatever it is, definitely mention all of your awards in LinkedIn. Another great way is to ask for testimonials. This again, testimonials for me is much more important than any kind of skills that you put, because testimonials really bring that credibility from an external source of having done the work that you're claiming to do. Every single time, at least my preference is that when I have had a significant work experience in a company, I go back and I ask for a testimonial. If there is a senior member who has moved out, I ask for a testimonial. So these are very good times to actually ask for testimonials. Of course, if you are no longer with the company and you've decided to move on, that is also an excellent time to ask for testimonials. And the important thing about testimonials is that you have to prime your reviewer that with specific skills that you want to highlight. So whether it is collaborative skills, product strategy, thought leadership, technical acumen, architecture design, cloud, whatever it is, whatever skills that you want to highlight, definitely prime your giver with these skills. Lastly, you can also build your own connections on social media. I do so too, but the important thing is for the highest success is to write a very, very personalized note. These could be people whom you have followed on LinkedIn. These could be people who are from the same school or college that you attended. So finding that common connection is important for them to really be receptive to accept your connection. Another great way is to connect on LinkedIn is when you have met the person or met your connections in person. These could be either in virtual conferences or in-person conferences. And once you've established some kind of top of the mind recall or remembrance, then you can go back and ask them for a connection on LinkedIn. So there are other platforms too, and it depends upon ultimately where your audience is. If the goal is to build a business, then potentially Facebook or Instagram is one of the best places to build that credibility. If it is more of an independent thought leader, X or Twitter, that's an excellent platform. If it is for professional growth, then LinkedIn is a good platform. But there are other platforms, and each of these platforms require very similar data points, which is typically a rich and a complete profile, having the right connections, being consistent, so on and so forth. So lastly, a very important factor is consistency, because it is not enough to I would say put a footprint on the social media, but it is very important to nurture that image, that seed that you have planted there. There are different ways of demonstrating consistency. One good way is short form content. I call this short form because it typically does not exceed 5 to 10 lines. It is something that you can pick up a topic that is happening in the market and write your version or your perspective. It can be something that you found insightful, and then you can give your interpretation of it. And this is easy because it does not require a substantial investment of time. If possible, definitely, or it can be even a simple repost. If there's an influencer that you really like and something really resonated with you, you can repost that, putting your own perspective on what was said. So this is an excellent way. This is easy. Typically, I spend at least half an hour trying to go through the latest news and figuring out which of those I found interesting, and sharing that either as snippets or reposting other thought leaders or sources where I found that piece of information. The other one, which is more involved, is long form content, and these long form content is especially a great proof point for expertise. They are different mediums and each require a slightly different amount of investment, and also the depth of topic as well. So LinkedIn posts will definitely be more involved than, let's say, just a status update. They are enough and more of topics. These could be, general topics or specific to your area. But the expectation is that there's at least enough content to cover 500 words to make a robust LinkedIn post. A lot of my developer colleagues post on Medium or Substack. These are very involved. They require a sizable amount of investment and thought, where you have to pick a topic. On that topic, you have to find examples, code snippets, so on and so forth. So it is a fairly involved, but that establishes significantly your expertise that you're looking to portray. Newsletters, again, the more seasoned social media influencers have their own newsletters, which they send out weekly or monthly. Requires sizable amount of interest. So it requires the content to be refreshingly unique. Otherwise, people will not subscribe to it. But if it is something that is unique, and a lot of times we don't know what is unique or not unless we really start. So it's important to start and see what is resonating with the larger mass or your audience. Sometimes you can also get an opportunity to be a guest writer or a guest speaker. These are also excellent ways to reach a larger audience without really needing to build them. So all of these require time investment on our part. So which means that sectioning out times of the day doesn't matter when, but sectioning out half an hour to 1 hour a day to read, to post, to work on these channels is important. So finally, we are out of COVID. Last, the 3 years of COVID have been very hard, and we were so in tune to most of our time being on the digital media. But now things have opened up, and there are other methods of connecting with people, and which is much more richer. This a great way to connect with people is in conferences. Conferences in person or virtual. In virtual conferences, the ability to network might not be as much because it's not as much fun interacting with someone virtually. But in-person conferences, whatever is in your city, and if you can, if you can travel to a very important conference in your area, definitely make the investment to do so. There are professional groups. A great example is Women in Product, Women in Cloud, Women in Tech. All of these groups provide an excellent platform for women to learn as well as to seek mentors, seek that additional, 1 foot in the door, which possibly you would not get if you were to approach companies directly. Meetups are also an excellent way to connect with people in the same areas of interest. And there are enough and more of meetups on every topic in the cities that you're in. Some of the meetups are also virtual, so you can definitely extend whom you connect with beyond just where you can physically be. So these require investment, a lot of time investment. If I were to go to a conference, it would probably take me half a day. But the goal is to be very astute on why we are going to those events. If it is to gather content, that's different. If it is to connect with people in, let's say, the exhibitions or connect with companies there. So focus on that. If it is to connect and network with people, focus on that. If there is a specific tech talk that you want to hear for a speaker, focus on that and potentially optimize the overall time that you can spend there. So personally, for me, I go to conferences in the morning. I typically leave by 4 o'clock because I do need to come back home to my kids by the time my kids are back from school. But I try to make whatever time I have there very efficient, trying to meet as many people as possible, ensuring that I meet with the organizers to put in a word so that in case, in future, if they needed a speaker or any kind of support, I can provide that. Returning to work, for women who are returning to work, I want to say that I have been there with you. This was the time when I was when I had moved from US back to India. I had taken an 8-month break because I wanted to help my family settle. And getting back to work was hard because in spite of having, I would say, a fairly well-established career in US, I had to re-establish myself again in India, which meant that, going to a lot of interviews and realizing what they were looking for, or at least their understanding of that role was different from what I was used to. This was reskilling and to some extent also changing the way I communicated for much more for the Indian, I would say, work environment and work culture. So a break is not bad. And if someone has taken 1-year break, 5 years break, whatever that is, it is not bad. And your skills are still very much relevant because you don't forget. A lot of what we did is muscle memory. Maybe it'll be rusty, but it'll come back with practice. If you are still on a break, going back and looking at some of the other areas where you can build an expertise through either taking certifications or volunteering in different organizations can be an excellent way to be relevant, still have that flexibility. And whenever you're ready to come back, you'll have a lot of proof points about your skills so that you don't have to, start out from the beginning. But if you're returning to work, definitely leverage your past network. A lot of people who I've worked with will probably vouch for the work that you have done, and they'll be willing to help you. So reach out to them on LinkedIn, ask other people to connect to your former boss or the former boss's boss who potentially could have openings in his teams. So definitely reach out to your network, leverage your network to get a foot back in the door. There are also many companies who have return to work programs. These, the likes of Target, Walmart, and many others, they do run return to work programs. Plus also, of course, organizations like Her Second Innings, Her Key, so on and so forth. All of these have tie-ups with organizations to support women returning to work. So it is not all lost. You still very much have it in you. It might feel a bit alien, but once you are back, you will be in your groove in no time. Lastly, the important thing about any kind of reputation building is to be very consistent, to be diligent, to be relevant. And if you're posting on social media to build your brand, it should be interesting. It should be relevant to the audiences who are there. So these you definitely, and it depends upon the kind of platform that you're on. If you're on LinkedIn, the content has to be about business or professional or interests. Wouldn't recommend posting anything personal on LinkedIn. Similarly, if it is Facebook or Instagram, where you are building your brand there for, let's say, a business, then the kind of content could be substantially different. But whatever it is, be relevant to your audience, be relevant to the platform that you are posting on, and make it interesting. It's very hard to get engagement, or it's very hard to even attract people to your profile or to your content if it is not something different from what everyone else is posting. And this was a very short presentation I had, a lot of content I went through, but most importantly, eh, be you. We all have something very unique that we are bringing to this world. And if it's only by being ourselves is when we will be happy, we will be satisfied, as well as we'll be able to give our best. So definitely be you. So Meghna, this is all I had. I'm happy to. Uh, so all of us are not unidimensional. We all have different areas of interest and expertise. And we can build on any one of these. So good